Hello and welcome to this session on IGCSE Computer Science solving 15-mark questions. Now, there are quite a few questions around on the internet at the moment or floating around on the internet. We are going to be focusing on the March 2023 paper 2 today. Now, this is our 15-mark question. So first of all, what is it actually asking us to do? So we need to set up a program which has two different arrays, one which is going to be one-dimensional for team name. I'm going to be choosing football as our topic of choice today. Second two-dimensional array is going to be for team points. Now, both of these arrays, the index positions have to correlate or link. That means the team which is going to be in index 0 or index 1 of team name, the points then need to link up to whatever is inside the two-dimensional array for team points. Next up, we've got our variables which have been predefined for us. So we've got variable league size. This is going to count the number of teams in the league. This means we can probably use a len function to automatically identify number of teams. The match number needs to contain the number of matches played. So we should again be able to use a len variable or a length function inside a high-level language to look at total number of matches played by each team. Now, the way that teams are awarded points is they get 3 points for an away win, 2 for home, 1 for drawn, and 0 for lost match. So we're not actually recording the number of goals they're scoring here. The program solution which you need to demonstrate, it should allow us to calculate the total number of points for all matches played. It should allow us to count the total number of away wins, home wins, drawn matches, and lost matches for each of the teams in that 1D array. We should be able to output the name of the team, total points, and total number of away wins, home wins, drawn matches, and lost matches for each of the teams in that 1D array. And we should also be able to find the team that achieved the highest total points and also lowest total points. This can be done in a high-level language and also pseudocode. You must have comments to explain how your code works. Now, in order to solve this in an editor, we're probably going to want to put some dummy data into these different arrays here so we can actually start the program. I've got a REPL window open up, which is linked underneath this video. This one is blank, and over here I have got a complete solution. So first things first, I'm going to copy over these 16 lines of code, and we're going to have a look at what it is doing. So first up, we have got our team names all inside a 1D array. Again, I'm focusing on football. We've got team points, and this is two-dimensional. So the way that I've opened up my first bracket here, I then pressed on enter, and this is going to be index 0 of the first list or first array within the two-dimensional array. And what I'm doing here is I'm scoring points for each of the 5 teams listed inside team names. So this is going to be match 1, match 2, match 3, and so on, because the exam paper specifies that each team has played an even number of games. Now, down here we have got league size. So in order for us to identify the league size, in other words, how many teams are in the division, we can use len and then team names. And to find out total number of matches played, I'm just doing len team points, and that is going to tell us how many index positions there are. Now that we have everything declared, what we're going to have a look at is how we can calculate the total number of points for each of the teams listed in this one-dimensional array here. Now, I'm going to be using defined functions here, so def in Python, as it is a much better way to structure our code. The exam question asks us to specify the total number of points achieved by each of the teams here. So I've got def total points set up, and I'm bringing in a variable from another function, so that's going to be passed in as a parameter. We've set up a variable which is called total points, and we've set this to 0. And we're then going to start looping through our matches. So we're saying for counter in range match number. Now, match number is 10, and this counter is going to begin at 1. We're going to do total points is plus or equal to team points. So this is the two-dimensional array. Now we're going to be beginning at index 0 here, and what we're going to do is try to add up all of the index positions in this column here. So the coordinate here is going to be 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. And then what we're going to do here is use the counter, which has been specified inside our for loop, and then also the team index position. Now, this team index position is also going to be focusing on this first column here. Now, in order for me to show you how this works, what I'm going to do in the console window on the right-hand side, I'm just going to press enter, and I'm going to go back and tab in here. I'm going to show you how it's actually adding up all of these points. I'm going to add in a print statement here, and I'm going to say total underscore points. Now, what you should be able to see on the right-hand side when I press run is the points that we are calculating for Chelsea. This is the calculation which is being done just before we're outputting the team details for total points, win away, win home, and so on. So we start at 0, 0, which is 3. We then plus 2, and we get to 5. We then plus 1, and we get to 6. Plus 0 is 6, plus 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So hopefully this will show you what it's doing is it's looping through everything in index 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, all the way down to 0, 10, or it would be 0, 9 in this case if it begins at 0, and then it is adding all of these up. Once it has done that, it is returning total points, and it's going to allow us to return this value to another defined function. Then it's going to move on to column 1, and we're going to do 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2, plus 1, and if you add up all of these values here, just before we have the output for Spurs, the points inside index 1 of this two-dimensional array all add up to a total of 16. Now, hopefully that is nice and clear for you, and you can experiment with this just as I have. So I'm going to get my comments back to the correct line, and we're going to move on to the next function. The next thing that we need to be able to do is we have to be able to rank matches. So again, we're bringing in that variable team index, and we're also going to be bringing in something which is called match result here. So when we rank our matches, we want to be able to see who has come first, second, third, fourth, and so on. So we set up a variable which is called count match result. And if I'm going through any of this, and if you don't think I've got sufficient comments to explain the code, let me know or drop a comment underneath the video. So we've got for counter in range match number. We've got a total number of 10 matches being played. We're doing if team points, counter, team index. This is how we're looking at the index positions in our 2D array. If it is equal to match result, again, that's a variable bringing in for another function. We're doing count match is plus or equal to 1. And again, we are returning this. Now, if you want to find out what any of these variables are doing here, for example, count match result, what you can do here is you can just print it out either before line 26 or after line 26. And this is going to allow us to rank our matches in order of first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. If we run this code again on the right-hand side, what we're going to be able to see is the final output for the program. We're going to be able to see that Man City has won with a total of 21 points, and then Chelsea has lost with the lowest ranked team with 13 points. Losing my wording a little bit there. Now, our next function up here, we've got something which is called def display team info. This time, we're not passing in any parameter. What we are going to do is we are going to try to add in team information to our total points list. And we're going to be appending the index position from total points here. Now, the way that this is going to work is we are going to have a for loop set up. So team index in range league size. So we know that there's 10 teams because we used that len function at the beginning. We're then doing print team name plus string team names team index. Now, in order for us to use both string and numbers in our print statement, this is allowing us to convert the data type that was an integer into string data type. What we're then doing is again converting the index position for team index. We're printing out total points. Total points is going to be another function that we have created, and it's going to be coming from line number 17 here. So we're using function, the index, plus the wins away. And this is going to allow us to create a ranking for wins, drawn, lost, and also away wins here. And we're then appending that information into the one-dimensional list total points. Now let's have a look at what's actually happening here. What I'm going to do is press enter where I've got this comment here, enter again, and I'm going to tab in, and then we're going to actually have a look at what data is inside total points. So I'm going to click on the prompted variable or array that we want to use in this case, and if we run this, let's see what is being output on the right. So we can see we've got 13, 16, 21, 18 and 15. These are the total points for each of the 5 teams which we've got inside our league. 21 belongs to Man City and 13 belongs to Chelsea. Now, what we also have to be able to do within inside this program which we're producing is identify who was the highest ranked team and who was the lowest ranked team. In order to do this, we can use a minimum and a maximum variable. So we're bringing inside our total points list, which we created inside display team info, and that information is storing the total points for each of the teams. To be able to identify who is the highest ranked team, we're going to do for counter in total points list. If counter is less than minimum, I set minimum to 1,000, but we can clearly see the highest ranking point here is 21. That could be changed to a smaller value maybe. We're then putting the counter inside to the minimum variable. Now, if we want to see what's inside minimum on the first iteration of this loop, we can do print and then minimum. Running this again, let's see what minimum is, and we'll be able to see the first value that's been put in there is 13, because Chelsea is going to be the team that we look at first within inside the 1D list and within index 0 of our 2-dimensional array. Now, it's the same concept for also finding the maximum. And again, it's going to iterate what's inside this for loop, and then it's going to apply 21 to the maximum variable. Now, we want to have a look at this section of code here. How is it that we are able to identify 13 belongs to Chelsea and 21 belongs to Man City? I'm going to get rid of the print statement that I added earlier. And what we want to be able to do here is look at how this function is working. So we're saying string, so we're going to convert all of the data types inside this section of code to be a string value, just so we don't get any syntax errors. And we're saying team names, total points list. So that's looking at this one-dimensional list with all of our team names. And then we're saying total point list, which is the 1D array which we created on line 29, and then we're using .index maximum. This section of code is going to allow us to identify the biggest value inside that one-dimensional list. And it is the exact same concept for finding the smallest value as well. So using .index and then our variable minimum or maximum, we will be able to identify what team needs to be allocated those points. Now, this is pretty much all for this video. One of the things that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to convert this into pseudocode at some point, and hopefully use similar concepts to what I've used in today's video to solve 15-mark questions. Last thing to mention here, down at the bottom, what we are doing is we're calling our functions highest, lowest points, and also display team and info. Now, as I mentioned, drop me a message if you want some clearer comments adding inside the program code here. Again, losing my wording, and hopefully this has been useful for solving 15-mark questions.